Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and with this video, I'll be discussing my thoughts on episode 13 of the anime series Akagami no Shirayuki-hime, or Snow White with the Red Hair. For all intents and purposes, the continuation of the series with, second season, the first episode of the second season. And from right off the bat, I thoroughly loved being welcomed back into this world. It felt like coming home again, and just that heartwarming appeal that carried me through. It was the foundation of my burgeoned love for the series from the get-go in season 1. That heartwarming appeal, this sort of mystical, magical fantasy setting, but with characters that were dealing with things realistically and everything like that. And I got that sense from right off the bat. Once you get past the OP, it's like, again, as I say, being welcomed home again. And refamiliarizing yourself. If you happen to be like a casual viewer or something along those lines, and you weren't as invested remembering who everybody is and getting a sense of what their form and function in this world happens to be, you're really sort of ushered into it with a mixture of refamiliarizing, but at the same time, it's setting that tone again, letting you know nothing's really changed. It's still kind of the status quo, and we still have everybody involved: Shirayuki, Zen, Obi, Ryu, Garek, Mitsuhide, Kiki, Zana, Raj, and we have a couple of new characters that debut as the course of the story unfolds for this episode. And I say most notably after the OP, because I wasn't that big of a fan of this OP. As compared to the OP for the first season, every time that would start, I'd listen to it in its entirety, and it would pull me right into the emotion and the impact of this world, that very heartwarming nature of it. And I really just kind of didn't like, it didn't even feel that much like a song for the OP for season 2 for this episode. Maybe it'll grow on me. It just felt very slow and poorly paced, not very melodic. Mystically melodic like the OP for the first season was, or the first half of the story, whatever you want to call it. But once we got beyond that, as I say, you're really sort of seeing that the status quo is still very much on par, and all the characters is still very much where we left them. Shirayuki herself still consumed with Zen's profession of love and what he will do to make sure they can be together and stay together. And we knew that Izana was going to have something to say about that. That whole idea, his whole aesthetic is messing about with Zen and Shirayuki and putting them to the test, not really trusting Shirayuki. And that's kind of the basis by the end of this episode of how this is all unfolding. One thing I want to say from right off the bat that I frickin' love is the dynamic that is now unfolding, or sort of being more explored, between Obi and Ryu, respectively. I just really like them together, sort of buddy-buddy. Obi being he's still very much attracted to Shirayuki. You can see that he's interested in things she's interested in, the flowers blooming, and of course Ryu thanks him for helping him with the pages that got tossed by the wind up into the tree and everything, by giving him some of the same seeds that bloomed these particular flowers. And there's the one blue seed that is something Shirayuki's looking for, and Nobi's kind of like wink wink nudge nudge to Ryu because he's got one, and such like that. And then, of course, when this order comes down to do with these new characters who are essentially pitting Shirayuki in between a rock and a hard place, she's got to go back to Tanbarun and attend a gala ball or whatever it is, because the people now want to know what exactly has gotten Raj off his keister to start acting a bit more properly in his princely fashion and everything like that. They want to know who this girl with the red hair is that gave him that drive and gave him that direction. And of course, Izana has no qualms whatsoever of sending her packing, in a sense, to make sort of an objective, figurehead out of her, because of that red hair, that lustful red hair that everyone is so consumed with. It's such a rarity in this world. It's very much problematic for Shirayuki. And I almost have to wonder if, by the end of the series, she's going to dye it black, become uber Snow White with the black hair and the sort of pearly white skin, just to not have to deal with it anymore. She seems sort of a pragmatist enough that she might do that. It's just my speculation. I doubt it's actually going to happen. But if I were in her position with how troublesome and meddlesome this hair color seems to be, I might actually do something about it along those lines if I were in her shoes. But as I say, we have these new characters. Mihaya, of course, not so much new in his case because he was the guy who took her captive and everything. The former sort of noble, you know, his family was, I guess, disgraced, and there are hints that maybe Izana had something to do with that, or, you know, the kingdom of Clyderness might have something to do with that. And I hope we get a little more depth to that, what exactly is going on along those lines. But you have this character, Kazuki, who it's like, who the hell is he? He seems very much maybe familiar with Shirayuki, and it seemed almost as though, like, the expression on her face was a mixture of worry and recognition, like, oh, I think I know who this is, but remains to be seen. You know, we don't exactly know if she has any idea who this is. It could have just been somebody hired on by Raj or something to come and bring forth this message and go looking for Shirayuki. Maybe somebody, you know, he's like the people's denizen. Maybe the people got together and said, okay, you go find her and bring her back so we can see what the deal is with her. That kind of situation. Bring her back to Tanbaroon. I don't exactly know. But that was, you know, very intriguing because, of course, Izana kind of sort of makes it like this is an order. You're going to have to go back. You're going to deal with this. He's getting off on that whole aspect. But at the same time, it's kind of like, but you can tell me if you want to or not. You know, like, again, it's part of the form and function of his having fun and messing about with Shirayuki and Zen. And Zen is livid. Zen is, as soon as, you know, Mihaya enters the picture again, he's livid. He's on the edge of just launching at the guy, choking him out. Everything like that. And I love that Obi's like taking note of this. But then again, of course, as I say, we're touching upon that aspect of Obi that is interested in Shirayuki on his own, because when Zen is like, okay, I want somebody to be sent along with Shirayuki as a protector, they close in on Obi because Obi wasn't Zen's first choice. Usually he is, but in this case, he's picking Mitsuhide, and so Obi kind of, I guess, might feel a mixture of betrayal, might feel a mixture of, you know, like downtrodden, like, oh, I could have been close with Shirayuki. I could have impressed upon her that I'm interested in the things she is and all this kind of stuff. I could have sprung on her the blue seed of the flower that she's so desperate to find and all this kind of stuff. So I like these multiple layers that are going on between Zen, Obi, and Shirayuki. It's kind of a love triangle, but it's not at the same time, because a love triangle kind of superimposes the idea that all three parties are aware of it to some degree, you know. But I don't think Shirayuki has any sort of thoughts about Obi along those lines, which is a shame. Obi's kick-ass. But I mean, at least for me as a viewer, I'm very much about Shirayuki and Zen. So I don't feel that bad for Obi. I wish he would find someone else, you know, as resounding to him as Shirayuki is, but I'm liking the story conflict thus far. I hope it doesn't get too melodramatic, because these characters have been very mature about their relationships and how they handle each other and everything like that. There is a mutual respect, it seems, between Obi and Zen, which was earned by Obi, you know, in effect, in Season 1 through the course of it. And that's why Zen gave him the position he has. So it would kind of be heartbreaking to me to see a falling out begin between them, but you never know. You never know how it's going to go, especially with the fact that Obi still is pining for Shirayuki in certain ways. And as I say, I hope we see more evolution and depth in the relationship between Obi and Ryu. I think Ryu was very much underused in Season 1, and I'd like to see more about this kid, learn more about him. He seems like a cool, down-to-earth kid. He's kind of, at the same time, he's got those nerd aesthetics in that he keeps to himself. He's very much about whatever his job happens to be as an herbalist and all the intricacies of that, and being impressed to a degree with Shirayuki's, you know, sort of very skilled approach. I mean, she's a sort of a naturalist in how she approaches all the herbalist nature. You know, it's something she has studied, and it comes very easy to her, it seems, as is the discussion, you know, between Garek and Obi and Ryu through the course of this episode, that she's finding her way around the storage areas and you know, cleaning it all out and doing it without really much of an effort, you know. At least catalog-wise, I don't know, as far as carrying the heavy boxes. We do see her carrying them at one point and having to be helped and everything like that. But yeah, I loved it. I loved this first episode. I like that we're starting with a sense of very much well-establishing this world again for us. You know, refamiliarizing ourselves with the feeling, the emotion, the vibe, that very heartwarming vibe, and, you know, getting reintroduced to these characters as it was away for a while, you know. But then once you're finding yourself and finding your footing back in that world again, we do have a wrench thrown in the works. And we do see Izan is still going to make good on his playing about, as I say, and being manipulative between Zen and Shirayuki and all that kind of stuff. Even if he's coming from a good place, you know, as far as wanting Zen to be responsible in his princely duties and find, you know, sort of a well balance of morals and responsibilities and all these kinds of things. I mean, Zen is very much about getting all the paperwork done, and there's a certain amount of romanticism in his character that he was trying to bound outside the castle. This is how he met Shirayuki to begin with, but there are still so many things he needs to learn, and Izana knows that, and we as viewers know that. Even as likable as Zen is, you know, he still has to grow up after a fashion. And it's going to be great to see the dynamic and relationship between he and Shirayuki develop as it will. And you know, I still, as I say, am very much about them coming together. But you never know with a story like this, with characters being treated as maturely as they are for, you know, the sort of fantasy environment that it is and the melodrama that can happen between characters. You never know. Maybe Shirayuki will eventually go on her own and, you know, it won't work out with she and Zen, that kind of thing, dare I say. You know, but as first episodes go, is bringing us back into the world for a second season, a continuation after it was away for a while, and we've all been watching other anime series and everything like that. Very much as was the case with Noragami Aragoto, I felt like right back into the mix of this world, and with the characters, you know, being well established, and just refamiliarizing myself with what I loved about all of them, and seeing the dynamics being further explored, you know, further evolved as we go. You couldn't really ask for that much more, and can't wait to see where we go in this second season. So I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below. If you're following the series, if you're a fan of the series, what you thought of this episode, if it was the same for you as far as being really excited to re-enter this world and be just won over by it all over again, and feel that sense of who everybody is, and, you know, refamiliarizing yourself with those dynamics, as well as, I say, seeing them evolve them that much more, being that it is a continuation, as well as what is at stake by the end, or if it fell flat for you. You know, anything goes in the comments below. We don't have to agree on everything. Love having the conversation whether we agree or not. And if this fell flat for you, just maybe describe a little bit as to why, if you have any sort of compunction or you know, theory as to why that might be. So yeah, otherwise I can't wait for the next episode, and hope this video finds you well, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.